Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, an independent podcast app that embraces the open world of podcasting instead of locking it down. No exclusives, no premium content, no paywalls. Just a great podcast app for everyone. Get it for free in the App Store. And we thank them for their support. Listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cards Against Humanity in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
I'm Ryan the Movie Guy, and sitting behind the glass is producer Pat.
Hey guys, how's it going?
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we fall in love, young love, as we cover our top 5 movies about young love.
I thought for a moment you were talking about us, but we're clearly too old to have young love, Ryan.
Well, everybody's had it in this room. Producer Pat probably is currently in it. But me and you have gone through young love. We have gone through young love.
Yes. We look back on it with fond nostalgia, Pat, so enjoy yourself, young man.
We're doing this topic. It's twofold, I guess, in a way, right, Matt?
Yeah.
We have a great guest who's going to be Skyping in.
Yeah, really looking forward to having him back on the show. Darren Dean, frequent collaborator with Sean Baker. He's worked on films like Tangerine, The Florida Project, just to name a few. He's got a bunch of new stuff coming out.
Yeah, and one of those films is entitled PREMATURE, which is getting great reviews and coming out this February. It's getting a wide release and also digital, and it has to do with young love. So that was the first thing that got us thinking about, young kids, teens, falling in love.
Yeah.
And then secondly...
It's Valentine's Day.
Ah, yes. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes. So get thinking of that, Jawheads, your top 5 movies involving young love. Besides that...
It's a great topic.
Yeah. Besides that, Matt, we even have more going on.
This week, in honor of Birds of Prey, we are also playing movie spin-off trivia.
And speaking of Birds of Prey, that is our review this week, Ryan.
Can't wait to talk about that. And we promised the Jawheads a new riddle, and we're going to get them one.
Yep.
The new riddle will come right around middle of the show. When we take a break, we're also going to do a riddle at that point.
Yeah, you say middle, but it's probably about 2/3.
It is. It's a little ways. But look for a new riddle. And, Matt, last week, you'll recall, we heard from Jawhead, Emmett Spangler.
Mm-hmm. He
is the Jawhead who sent us the CinemaWAR topic machine.
Yeah, it's questionable in its functionality, Emmett, but damn it, it works.
It does, and we are going to use it this week.
It's somewhat broken, but I don't know. Let's just make it work, Rye.
Yeah, Matt has actually tried to fix it for over 2 weeks to get the date to change.
I'm usually pretty handy with these types of things.
We can't do it. It's stuck on the year 2000.
I think I just need some more WD-40.
We'll see what happens. But you know what I was thinking here with Birds of Prey being a comic book movie? Mm-hmm. If we just put that in.
Just the words
comic book movie or just comic book. What do you want?
Comic book movie, comic book, it's the same thing. I mean, we're doing a movie show, so obviously it's going to be movies.
Yes. So let's throw in comic book into the machine.
Okay.
Let's turn this machine on, Matt Kay.
All right, here we go.
So we got comic book, year 2000. Hit it. Oh, here we go again. Still smells like wet rat.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The topic that we have here, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
What is the better comic book movie that came out in the year 2000? Wow. Get a load of this. Xmen or Unbreakable?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I will pick, I'll argue for Xmen.
I'll go Unbreakable.
All right. Well, may the best man win. Are you ready?
I am. CinemaWAR. Plus, Matt, February is Anne Hathaway month here on Cinemajaw. So let's start there with an Anne Hathaway fact.
Today's Anne Hathaway fact comes from an article published in Variety in 2015, marking the 10-year anniversary of Brokeback Mountain. Director Ang Lee said that he was unfamiliar with Anne Hathaway before her audition, and he was told by the casting director that the next actress coming in to read was going to apologize for her clothes and makeup, but to just let her do that and go into the reading. This was because Hathaway was auditioning for Brokeback Mountain during her lunch break from filming The Princess Diaries 2.
Oh, wow.
Also on the Universal lot. And according to Ang Lee, she read the part for Lorene wearing heavy makeup and dressed as a princess.
I want to find that audition tape.
That would be good, right?
That would be.
And it's funny on what a gap in her career she was, I should say a leap in her career she was about to take. I mean, here she's making Princess Diaries 2, and then in a couple years, she's making something very heavy like Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Princess Diaries is what it is, but I think she showed her potential even in those films.
Indeed. All right, before we bring Darren on, Matt, we do want to stick with this and keep reaching into the mailbag. So let's start there, Matt.
Yeah, we love getting feedback. We love hearing from the Jawheads. It's seriously heartwarming this Valentine's Day. So this one comes from Dion, and it goes like this. Your guest this week had me scratching my head. Has Amazon put out any good movies? ? Exclamation point, ? Has he been living in a cave the last several years? The Lost City of Z, Love and Friendship, Whit Stillman's most recent, Brittany Runs a Marathon, Beautiful Boy, Crown Heights, One Child Nation, You Were Never Really Here, The Big Sick, The Handmaiden, Photograph, Landline, Cold War, Brad Status, etc., etc., etc. What was he thinking? Sincerely, Dion. Sincerely, happy face, Dion.
I like it, Dion.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the guest he's referring to was just last episode, John Otterbacher, Professor O. And he made this comment. And a lot of times when we have a guest in, and we've talked about this before, we record, yes, it's recorded, but we record it as
in a live fashion, live to tape.
And you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. So when a comment comes like that, and I even remember trying to correct John on the show saying the latest two were really good, that being the Aeronauts and the Report.
Sure, it's on us. We didn't think of these either.
But it's very tough because we're in the moment. But I remember when he said it, like, he's completely wrong. And so I'm so glad this feedback came in because, yes, truth be told, I've had this conversation with many people over a few beers. If I'm talking just from a movie, and I wouldn't want to have to pick between the two, but if I'm talking from a movie aspect.
You better say You Were Never Really Here.
I know I was going to say, I would almost say I would pick Amazon over Netflix when it comes to the movies that they've produced. And
maybe.
Like I say, I don't want to have to pick the two, but just to let people know if they're not looking at what Amazon's producing as a studio, it is fabulous. They got great movies coming out all the time, and they have the exclusive deal with A24 where they're showing all of A24's before. So combine those two, and Amazon is a great spot for movies.
They got the cash to get it done, and luckily for us that they're spending it in good ways. The Big Sick and You Were Never Really Here in particular. And you know what? In Otterbacher's defense, the great Professor O has been working pretty hard on films the past couple years, so he may have had his head down and just not been thinking about this.
True. Keep the feedback coming, Jawheads. We love it.
Please do.
All right, Matt. So without further ado, Matt, we bring in our guest this week, Matt. As you mentioned at the top of the show, Darren Dean is a producer extraordinaire. He has worked on such films as Tangerine, The Florida Project, and his new film, Premature, currently sits, get this, Matt, at 94% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, nominated for a Spirit Award. Darren Dean, welcome back to Cinemajaw.
Oh, God, it's great to be back, guys.
Great to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So congratulations on Premature, the film. This is pretty exciting stuff, huh?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I got to work with Rashad Ernesto Green, who had done Gun Hill Road, kind of back, I guess, when I was starting my career out. He did this film that, and a lot of people kind of overlooked this one, and it actually predated Tangerine as a film with a trans lead, who also got nominated for a Spirit Award.
Oh, nice.
I've kind of brought that up as a talking point in a lot of interviews, because I think it's kind of interesting that, we get our pats on the back for being groundbreaking and stuff like that, but I hate that film was overlooked, because it's such a great film.
So tell us a little bit about Premature too, about the premise of it.
So it's a story of a young girl who is about to graduate high school and head off to college. Falls in love with an older man, a guy who is a record producer, a songwriter, and it's as young love often is. It's kind of like love at the right place, wrong time, or something like that. Where she's coming of age and he's of age, and there's definitely like real moments of beauty and tenderness with this wonderful script that Zora Howard wrote with Rashad Ernesto Green, and Zora's the lead of the film as well. But also this heartbreak, when you realize you're growing up too fast, and she does in this film, and there's these rites of passage that happen that are, again, they're really heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and also very beautiful. And also one thing I really want to add is that, we've got this great cast. I mean, Zora Howard and Josh Boone, Josh Boone does a lot of theater here in New York. He's just in Network, and right now he's in a play called All the Natalie Portmans, which is getting pretty highly rated off Broadway. And, but really a big star of our film is Harlem itself, and this is like, we're potentially heading into a gentrification of the area. And, I know that Rashad really, really wanted to make sure that we shot, the authentic Harlem, and depict it in such a way that, it would be captured on film forever. And, people from Harlem cherish that. And, Beale Street also was a film that, really did a lot of that, and, took its time to authenticate the film through its images. So, but yeah, it's a great, I love the film. It's a film I'm very, very proud of, and, really looking forward to the world to see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was wondering, because when we talk to you, and you've been on the Jaw a couple of times, you're always mentioning the different projects that, a producer always sort of has his hands in multiple fires going at one time.
Lots of juggling.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was it about Premature that drew you to the project that you said, yes, I got to be involved in this?
It really was Rashad. He was somebody that I really wanted to work with for a while. Let me tell you a little bit about 2018. It was a crazy, nutso kind of year. I went and I shot a film in New Mexico called The Short History of the Long Road, which right. By the way, is releasing in May of this year.
Congrats.
Or April. I'm sorry, April of this year. It's either April or May. We'll find out. That's a film that stars Sabrina Carpenter, Stephen Ogg, Maggie Siff, Danny Trejo.
Stephen Ogg's been on the show. We've talked to him.
Really? Stephen is awesome.
He is awesome. He's perhaps well known for his role as Trevor in the Grand Theft Auto 5 video game, for jawheads listening.
Oh, yeah, for sure. As well as his role on Walking Dead, which is where I first saw him as well.
Absolutely.
So we spent a lot of time on, Short History of the Long Road. We cultivated, we built our kind of our world, and I mean that universe being like our cast and our crew and our money and our, timeline, over a very, decent period of time, but not anything, exponentially unrealistic, but we took our time making the film, and we were really, really happy with, just taking our time. And I loved it because, I've worked with Sean Baker in the past, and we have a very run and gun kind of attitude. So it was a nice kind of departure to be organized and to be, kind of go in and pace ourselves. We shot this wonderful film, and then about a week before we wrapped this film, I get a call from Alex Rivera. Alex Rivera was the director of Sleep Dealer, also back when I had first started with Prince of Broadway. And he was somebody else who I really, really wanted to work with. And, he and Cristina Ibarra, who was his co-director, had called me up, and I'd run into them when we were out fundraising for Short History of the Long Road, and he was telling me about this film called The Infiltrators that he was working on. And I was like, wow, man, this sounds fascinating. It's this hybrid doc narrative thing. And, I said to him, I was like, I'm like so committed to, working on short history now. I can't split my focus, but man, good luck with that film. I wish I could work on it. Well, here we are 2 years later. He calls me the week before we wrap Short History of the Long Road and says, hey, do you know any producers who might want to come work on this film? And I said, is it the same film you were working on 2 years ago? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, I'll come work on that film with you. And he's like, will you really do that? He goes, probably below your pay grade. And I'm like, I need to make this film. It was a film about, the ICE detention centers and, and these subjects who were, caught up in the system. And I was like, no, I feel like I need to make this movie.
Yeah.
And so I went home for 3 weeks. We went through, a few script reads, some workshopping, and I told Alex and Cristina, I was like, we have to make this movie now. It's so relevant, so important. And I got on a plane, went right to LA. This is about a month after we wrapped Short History. Shot The Infiltrators closer to the style in which we shoot Sean's films, very, kind of like urgent and about 3 weeks before I wrapped that, I got a call from Rashad.
Wow.
And Rashad said, I really would love to work with you. Can you, come back to New York and shoot this film with me? And I was like, well, I'm shooting on this particular date or I'm wrapping on this particular date, and you're shooting on this particular date. Unless you can move the film, I can't do it. And so I get a call the day after I got back or about maybe 3 days after I'd wrapped The Infiltrators, and it was a call saying, we need you. Please come work on this film. And I was like, oh boy. So I flew home, and the day after I flew home, I walked onto a live set.
Wow.
There was no prep. There was a team in place that had done some prep, but I had no prep. And we barreled through that in, I'd say about 19 days or so. And it had, again, it had that, we now were back to that Baker-verse kind of energy.
You just can't escape it.
And I meant, but I missed it. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's that, it's like that crazy ex-girlfriend, you just, like you have to get back,
Sure.
in the saddle and hang out with that person or that thing that
feeling,
is
yeah.
so energetic and I like it all. I mean, I like the pacing that is methodical. And I like the urgency. I do. I love the urgency. And Rashad's film certainly had that, and I think a lot of that shows on screen,
It's awesome.
That is.
And congratulations
Sorry for the long story.
No,
It's a fascinating story,
yeah,
man.
it is. And congratulations on the Spirit Award. You guys, you're going out there, correct?
I am leaving. Yes. So when is this airing?
This will actually air probably the Monday after the Spirit Awards, because they're Saturday,
So
correct?
I will either be a big winner or a 4-time loser. So it'll be interesting. I'm betting on the latter. Heading out. We're nominated for the Cassavetes, and it's Rashad, my co-producer, my fellow producer, Joy Gaines, and our writer-actress, Zora Howard, as the screenwriter. All of us are nominated together because it's about that spirit of, bringing those $500,000 films together, for the Cassavetes Award. So we're excited about that. Yeah, I'll be back out there again, and I'm just really pumped.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. It's really fantastic to see you on such a roll We've been following your career for a while, man, and just couldn't be happier for you.
So
I appreciate that. It's been a crazy year.
So the three films that you mentioned here that you just worked on, for the Jawheads listening to this, let's start with Premature. When can we expect to see this released? Because this is going to be in theaters and digital, correct?
Yes, February 21st will be the launch date of, through IFC. It opens in New York and LA. February 28th, it opens wide. And it's opening very wide. Actually, they're adding cities regularly, so we're happy about that.
We're here on Cinemajaw. We're on a few lists with different publicists for screenings, and just happened so today earlier I got a list of press screenings for Premature today. So
awesome! I cannot wait for you to see it. It's great.
That's awesome. And then for the other two projects that you mentioned, the Infiltrators and the short
history of the long road.
Yes.
I know it's a mouthful, but it's so funny because when we talked very early in the beginning, and we have these conversations. Every director and producer has these conversations about like the title of the film and like, do we keep it? Do we, and that's one thing I said to Ani. I was like, I will work on Ani Simon Kennedy as a director. I was like, I'll work on this film, but you never can change the title because it was just so, I loved that it was a mouthful. But Short History of the Long Road will be opening definitely in New York and LA. And I believe 8 other cities somewhere in April, May. We're still working on that. And then it goes to, then it'll eventually go to FilmRise, who will be handling our digital platforms. And then for the Infiltrators, Oscilloscope is handling that. And we are opening in March. The actual date is not locked yet, but we're opening in March.
Boy, you weren't kidding, man. You have been busy. That's fantastic. Got quite a slate coming out.
Yeah. Let loose at the Spirit Awards. Have some drinks.
Very diverse. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said let loose at the Spirit Awards. Have some drinks.
Well, they're free, so, try tying my hand behind my back.
Yeah, free is my favorite kind of beer.
It's always a really fun event. And, it's when you're in the room, you see stuff that you don't see on TV, and it's just fun because, like, the minute they go to commercial, like, everybody's up from the tables and, like, running across the room and talking to one another, and, and it's a lot of fun, and, you get to hang with old friends, and, and there's, like, a 2-hour period before the awards starts that you're outside in usually the lovely weather, with a bunch of sponsors, and then, and then after that, IFC throws a great shindig to kind of wrap the night up. And then, usually most people are out of energy by then, but it's good. It's a good day at the beach for sure.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again on all the success.
Thank you.
Absolutely. As you heard, we are celebrating Anne Hathaway this month of February. So I wanted to end this interview, let the Jawheads get a judge of where you're coming in from with your opinion. What is your favorite Anne Hathaway movie, Darren?
Rachel Getting Married.
Wow.
That is a good one.
Yeah, that is our retro review this month. We're going to review it later on in February. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. No, it's such a great film. I think it's one of her most poignant roles, and I think, that she was always, a really good actress, but I think that was like, she's a great actress kind of moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, no arguments.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so Darren is sitting in on this entire jaw. He has his top 5 movies about young love.
Young love movies, yeah.
This is great. And speaking of great, Matt, we saw a new movie. All right, Matt, the year was 2016. DC movies were still playing catch-up with Marvel and seemed to be following their lead. In this case, DC was trying to replicate the smash hit Guardians of the Galaxy with their misfit mashup of their own, Suicide Squad. It was a failure, big time. However, if you ask most people who watched it to name one bright spot of the film, the unanimous answer would be Harley Quinn. This is not to say people were so delighted with her that they needed a spin-off, but here we are. Can Margot Robbie make this character work in her own film? Matt and I headed back to Gotham to find out.
This all started when the Joker and I broke up. It was completely mutual. And soon enough, I was back on my feet, ready to embrace the fierce goddess within.
It's so quiet.
Now that I cut ties with Mr. J, I'm about to learn that a lot of people want me dead.
All alone.
And at the top of that list is this guy.
And so peaceful.
But it turns out I wasn't the only dame in Gotham looking for emancipation.
The film opens with some fun animation and quickly catches us up to speed on what has happened to Harley Quinn since we last saw her. The big news is she broke up with the Joker. This has major complications. Harley is now an open target for many people she has wronged over the years. As she weaves us through a ton of explanation of things, we also find out there is a diamond that everyone in Gotham wants. This leads to backstories on other characters, and eventually all of this comes together. Now the question here, Matt, is, was Birds of Prey fun enough to warrant its own spin-off?
Well, I mean, that's two different questions, really. And we got to preface this. We just saw this movie, still digesting
yes,
a little bit.
We came out of the screening and drove right here to record. This is true.
Was Birds of Prey fun enough to warrant its own spin-off is a bit of an oxymoron. I think what you're saying is, was Suicide Squad fun enough to warrant its own spin-off? And the answer is no. Like you mentioned already, I don't think any of us were like desperately waiting for this. But you know what? A little bit more Margot Robbie, who has really proven herself as one of the best actors working today, is not a bad thing. And excited to see her get back to this character, which is just a lot of fun. What they did here, again, aping Marvel, I hate to say it, but they're just going for Deadpool. They just ramped up the violence, gave it an R rating, slapped a bunch of F-bombs in there. But goddamn it, I had fun with it. Man, did I have fun with it. It was just like, at a certain point, while you're watching this movie, and I'm going to curse so you can bleep this out, you just have to say, fuck it. Just, you know what? Fuck it. The movie is what it is. It's unfolding before me, and it's just pure spectacle. That's what it is. It's technicolored violence, unabashedly gratuitous at times. I think that there's a twinge of girl power. I don't know how that's going to land, because are they genuine with the girl power, or are they reaching for it? I don't know. But this is a female cast kicking the crap out of men the entire movie. So if that's your thing, you're going to get plenty of it from Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, which is the full title.
It's a bit too much.
It's a bit too much. I think what happened here is DC was going to make a Birds of Prey movie, and then Harley Quinn shoehorned herself in. And I've seen so many, not reviews, but trailers and everything else that says that the movie is starring Harley Quinn. But it's not. It's not starring Harley Quinn. It's starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. But the character itself has taken on a life of its own, that she's the Deadpool of the DC universe.
I don't know if all of that is warranted to say that she's taken over so much so that it's Harley Quinn starring. No. I don't like the character that much. Myself, no. And
I love the character.
I would also say that it's interesting that you compare it to Deadpool. I did not think that actually going in. It was not.
How can you? Why not?
I don't know. I just thought that this was.
There's only a few R-rated superhero movies, so how could you not compare this to Deadpool?
I don't know. It didn't have that, fourth wall breaking constantly. It did to a little bit, but not like Deadpool. I think that's a bit of a stretch to say it's. I think it's its own thing.
She's not exactly Deadpool. What I said is it's aping Deadpool. They're going, just like they did at Guardians of the Galaxy, they're going for that audience.
I don't know. I think you're saying, no, I really don't.
What are
just
you talking
because it's an R-rated, so now everything that's going to be R-rated and a comic book movie is only because Deadpool did first, then no. Then what I'm saying is, what your point saying that this could have been
Deadpool
girl
paved
power,
the road.
girl power. And you said you think it was landing on that. I think a lot of it was girl power. I think that's really what it was going for. And a different type of girl power than, say, Wonder Woman. But that was, I think, the ultimate goal, was to give it sort of, this misfit bunch of women,
Right.
R-rated, and give it that spin on girl power.
I agree, and I applaud that. But my comment was, I wonder if it will come across as genuine, and I hope it does, because I enjoyed the hell out of that aspect of it. And that's an interesting thing you bring up with Wonder Woman, because while we were walking back from the theater, I asked, do you think that this has the same representation for women that another superhero film had? And you said, well, Wonder Woman definitely probably holds that gold standard. And I don't know, because Wonder Woman is an ideal and she's a hero, but she's also kind of like the female Superman in a way, very buttoned up, very Girl Scout, very straight-laced. Whereas the Birds of Prey, each character, especially Harley Quinn, is unhinged. They're loose cannons. They are misfits. And I think that there's more representation there with more women can see themselves in those characters than a Wonder Woman who is kind of like this unachievable ideal. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Now, the other issue I wanted to bring up or point was that you had said, hey, F it, let's just have fun. And you had a lot of fun with the movie.
It's like a kung fu movie.
So when I was watching the movie, I had actually wrote down in my journal, I wrote down momentum, slow, momentum, slow, momentum, slow. And I think what I was hinting at was I was getting into the movie and some things clicked for me, like this is going to be fun. It opens up with a bang, literally, with Harley Quinn blowing up this
chemical
plant, right? And a lot of that and the way she's explaining it, it's like, this is going to be fun. I'm having fun with it. But for me, there were moments that didn't work as much too, where it was like, this is sort of slow, or it's not connecting with the audience. And sometimes you get the vibe of just sitting in the theater and
I agree with you.
Getting a vibe for what people are laughing with or how much they're into it. And this one really had a pacing issue of when we're into it and when we're not into it. It was like, yes, it's rolling.
Staccato.
And then all of a sudden, no. It was like they were playing with the gears in a stick shift car. I was down for it for a little while, and then there were points where I'm like, this isn't working. It was weird. But then it picked it back up and it was working again.
I agree. And ultimately I did think it sticks the landing. Here's the thing with Batman, anytime we visit Gotham, okay, I was trying to think of a good food analogy for this, because it's like a dish that can be made a bunch of different ways with a bunch of different flavors. You get a movie like Joker that's like very dark and heavy, right? And then you get a movie like Birds of Prey, which is bubbly, poppy, bright, and campy. Ewan McGregor's performance, you had said on our walk that he clearly was having fun with this role. I agree wholeheartedly, but he does go very close to over the top. I think he's bubbling, just about to get over the top, but doesn't quite. And it's a good performance, but that's the campy side of Batman, So I don't know. I find that nuance within Gotham fascinating, that we can have a Joker and a Harley Quinn within 12 months of one another, and they're both set in the same city that is so different. Isn't that weird?
Which is fun, because this is actually something that separates DC right now from Marvel.
That they can't get their shit together?
No, that they can do two different things and it still works to some degree. That's interesting.
I don't know
also.
If that's a plus or a
minus.
I
think it's a big time plus. I think Joker was the big plus for them, because they could show that they could just do a standalone Joker, even though we're about to get the Batman. Like, I myself don't need it all connected. I don't want it all connected. Just have fun with the characters and show me a good movie. I'm over the fact that every single movie has to tie in with something else. I don't need that. So
I don't need that either, but it was
good.
Brilliant that it happened.
Besides Margot Robbie and Ewan McGregor, who we both say are highlights here, also playing the Huntress.
She was great.
Is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And she's excellent. And it's not a name that I think is right up at the forefront where people always know exactly who this is. But I've been recognizing her more and more. And this, I think, is her best role. And what a great character. And there's a joke about her name and what her name was, and actually even the weapon that she uses. That was a recurring joke throughout the movie that completely landed for me. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think it was more her deadpan delivery and her social awkwardness, which don't match her badass skills, that made the character so much fun. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't get a whole ton of screen time, but what she does get, especially like when she's actually talking, is very effective.
There's also an egg sandwich at play here, and this is another one where this worked for me. This egg sandwich at the very beginning, and how enthused Harley Quinn is to get this egg sandwich.
Oh, I feel the same way she does about a good bacon, egg, and cheese.
I mean, they got these close-ups of the actual breakfast sandwich being made and then handed to her.
Did you get hungry?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude.
Well, I was thinking, I love, because it happens after a scene of her being out partying, and I think we all can relate to one of those. You have one of those late nights, and you want that breakfast sandwich in the morning, and it was just perfect, and how much she really wants to eat this thing, and there's a chase element to it.
Yeah.
All of that, again, worked.
It was
I loved
fun.
it.
It was
you
fun.
know? But there were also times in the movie where some of these jokes didn't go anywhere for me. It was like, this isn't really working, you know? And one element that I did want to highlight that didn't work overall was the constant fight scenes with loud music playing. It was almost like a beat they went to time after time again. So if it was Harley Quinn, you had the same exact thing happen each time, where all of a sudden she's surrounded by a bunch of guys or villains or somebody that's looking to try to kill her, and all of a sudden she has a weapon and the music starts playing, and then we get every once in a while some slow-mo and some really cool action scenes.
Yeah.
That's great to do once. Twice is a stretch. 3-4 times that probably happened in the movie.
This is a lot of the movie.
It's too much.
There were extended action sequences here where I'm like, okay, that's exactly where I said F it in my mind, because I'm like, oh, it's just a kung fu movie. It's a kung fu movie with some comedy interlaced, which I guess is what all kung fu movies do. That's what this is. If you're a fan of martial arts movies and you'd like to see DC characters in a martial arts movie, especially female DC characters kicking ass, then this is your movie. And it's funny. It's pretty good.
So we get to how many Jaws here, Matt K?
That's a difficult question, man. Because in all honesty, I don't want to elevate this movie too much. There are some serious problems here. I don't want to make light of the fact that there's some real violence. They don't pull any punches.
And one other element, actually, before you get to the Jaws.
Yeah, please.
Was this idea that they do this rewind in the film where basically
I didn't like that.
They get to one spot in the plot and then you're completely confused as a viewer. You're like, what is going on? And then what they do is this rewind to explain how they got to that spot in the plot. They do it once, and I thought that was clever, but they actually do it a second and maybe even a third time where they do that sort of rewind element, like, oh, well, we'll explain her in a second.
Well, I guess that's Harley's disjointed mind at work. Well, you know what I did like? As long as we're adding extra thoughts here, Harley gets to, Harley is kind of an idiot, right? Or she's played as that, but she's not. She's a psychiatrist with a PhD. And there are times when, yeah, she can kick ass. Yeah, she's the Joker's ex-girlfriend, but she's also a brilliant scientist and a brilliant doctor. And she actually that comes across a few times to her advantage while she's in these situations. Mm-hmm. I liked that they wove that in, because she doesn't get enough of that in the comics or even the original Paul Dini cartoons.
One thing I am sick and tired of already with these comic book movies, be it one of these group comics where you got multiple people coming together like we do in Birds of Prey, or even when it's an origin story, I can't stand where the name of the group or the name of the hero is announced at the end. It's so tiresome. They've done this in numerous occasions. I mean, this is at least the 8th time where we get to the end of the film and then they say it's whatever it would be. You know, I'm just going to say Iron Man, but let's just say whatever the person's going to be.
That's an origin story, man.
Like, come on. It's just a little tiring. But
I guess so.
All right, on to the Jaws here, Matt K. How many Jaws for Birds of Prey?
Okay, Birds of Prey is a 2.5 Jaw movie. It's a little better than a middle of the roader, and that's about it. That's where it lands. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. This is probably not going to be something we're talking about at the end of the year, but go see it. It was enjoyable.
I would say it is a middle of the roader as I go 2 Jaws. Two Jaws. So didn't like it quite as much as you, but I didn't hate it. And I was very worried. I had very low expectations. I thought this could just be actually painful to sit through, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
So,
they pull it off. I was really curious how they were gonna, but they do.
Do you have a movie poster quote?
Actually, I do. Harley Quinn shows her rainbow is short a few Skittles in Birds of Prey.
Decent, but I'm going to one-up you this week.
Okay, let's.
All right,
I'll
here
be
it
the
is.
judge of that.
Movie poster. You're picturing it, right? And right across it, Rosie Perez is back.
Actually, that is pretty good. We didn't mention Rosie Perez at all.
No, but we did in my movie poster quote. She is back. Rosie Perez. I have waited 20 years for this. Yes. RP, man. RP is back.
I'm a big fan. I don't think it's been 20 years. She's had some appearances here and there, but this was a good starring vehicle for her.
Good stuff. All right. 2 Jaws, 2.5 Jaws for Birds of Prey. There you go.
That's about where it belongs.
Yeah. No big love story, but you got a breakup in there.
Yeah.
You know, you do got some young love element in there. And because our guest, Darren Dean, has produced the film PREMATURE, that is our topic this week. So, no young love per se in Birds of Prey.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
There is some
Mr.
elements
J
of
and
it, right?
everything. Yeah.
I love it. But that is our topic this week because our guest, Darren Dean, has produced the movie PREMATURE, so it ties in good here. So we're going to...
and Valentine's Day, Ryan.
This is true, Matt. This is true.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you.
It always makes him so uncomfortable when I say that, Darren. You should see his face turning bright red.
Yeah, plus he's rubbing my leg when he says it, which is always awkward.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's always
Oh, my
awkward.
goodness. Hey, it's my wedding anniversary, so
see that?
I've got a special affinity for Valentine's Day. And you know what? My wife will always say, he's the one who picked it, not me, just to show what a softie I am.
Well, honestly, I think it's smart. Now you only have to remember one date. Perfect.
Right, there you go. That was all calculated.
And we are going to find out what a softie Darren is with his top 5 list here of young lovers. What do you have sitting at number 5, Darren?
Yeah, this is not going to show that I'm a softie, but we'll get there. Y Tu Mama Tambien has to be on that list.
This is a great film for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean the performances. I mean it's so early in Kron's career, and so that's certainly something that that I love. It's just that we could kind of sit back and watch that film, and people were able to watch that film 15, 20 years ago and just go like, wow, this is a beautiful film. But now just to see where he started and really, how I think that film has influenced so many, not only young filmmakers, but young people in love.
Sure. It's funny. I'd like to go back and see it now after watching Roma last year. And
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
times then you could see some of that influence early on in his career. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But yes, a movie.
Some of the seeds that were sown for,
Right.
for something for Roma.
A movie very much about sort of like free love, wouldn't you say, Darren?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of beauty in that too. Just that their exploration, unabashed exploration of the freedom of who to love and how to love them is just really exceptionally handled in that film.
Yeah, definitely one I want to revisit. Good pick.
I agree.
Strong
Good
pick at number 5. Matt, can you match that?
I don't want to try to match that. If that pick is high art, I am going straight to pop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
no.
it's automatic, it's systematic, it's hydromatic. Why? It's greased lightning, Ryan. Grease.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Wow.
Sandy and Danny have stood the test of time in my heart. It's a musical that I think holds up very well because it was sort of out of time when they made it in the 70s. And Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta, kooky as they may be as individuals, were recently photographed in 2019 holding hands in the Danny and Sandy outfits.
Oh, no.
And it's heartwarming. They looked great.
Was this Travolta with the shaved head?
No, he
Oh.
put on a hairpiece and stuff. He looked like Danny Zuko. He was wearing the leather jacket and everything. I love Grease. I think it holds up. And it was teenage, high school romance that just seems so important when you're in it, And I think the musical captured that moment in all of our lives. I think most of us at least have shared that moment. And Grease, I love it. And I never will stop, Ryan. It's just at number
I
5.
think that's a great call. That's a great call. I love that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
I know you love Grease too, Ryan.
I do, and we've talked. Me and Matt have talked openly about being the only two guys in the world that actually like Grease too. Also,
Yeah, it's a true story.
I don't know what.
Michelle Pfeiffer, early role. You can't not like.
Right.
Yeah.
She's a cool writer. You know. My number 5 pick is a movie that just came out a couple of years ago. I caught up with it really because it was getting good buzz, and I'm glad that I did. It is entitled Love, Simon. And
Oh, yeah, that's a good pick, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
this is Nick Robinson is the actor who plays Simon, and he's a teenager in high school who is gay, but he has not told his family or friends yet. And then one day at school, online on this like online forum that the school has, another student confesses that he is a closeted gay student, and this Simon ends up reaching out to him, not giving away his identity. And then basically what happens is these two basically become pen pals in a way and start to get to know each other, but don't know who they are.
Right. It's an anonymous relationship.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a fabulous high school movie, and it really wins you over. The acting's great. It moves you at the end. And there's a great carnival scene where he's got to get on the merry-go-round. It's awesome.
I agree.
You have seen this one, huh, Matt?
Yeah, I finally did catch up with it. Yeah. I like it a lot.
I have not seen that, but I know so many people who love that film. But for me, people I would not expect to love that film, and I feel like it's one that I really need to see. So glad it's on your list.
Yeah. There's an element, that everybody cheers for that good love story in high school. This happens to be, a gay love story, but it's wonderful. You'll love it.
It transcends category.
It does. It really does. It's an awesome film. So, Love, Simon, my number 5. Into our 4s we go, Darren.
Yeah, I mean, since you guys are kind of like on the high school kick, who does high school better than Shakespeare, right? So, I mean, gotta go with 10 Things I Hate About You. I think it's one of the funniest, films around. I think, it's breakthrough for Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and there's so many great, rich, fun scenes in that. And as I'm sure many of your listeners know, it's Taming of the Shrew, and done high school style. And I think it's just that too. As we talked about, Grease, I think that 10 Things I Hate About You has really stood the test of time. And it's something I can turn on with my 5-year-old, and she'll be glued to the TV set.
Yeah. No arguments here, man. That is a good one. When you said Shakespeare, I thought you were going a different direction, which may or may not come up later. We'll see. All right, that swings it over to me. I think you guys are going to be able to figure out what kind of mood I was in when I made this list by my picks. 1987. Okay. This one I actually struggled with putting it on, but I ultimately decided, yes, it fits. It's a movie I watched again and again. The themes are not purely about young love, but I think it's love that saves the characters in the end, and I'll just come out with it. This is Can't Buy Me Love. McDreamy himself, Patrick Dempsey. Are you familiar with this one, Ryan?
I am. I don't think I've ever seen it, though, all the way through. I know I've seen parts of this movie.
It's a great movie.
Oh,
it's a great movie.
I saw it
in the theaters.
Did you? Yeah, I watched it again and again.
I did. I'm that old.
This was a VHS rental for me that I nearly wore out. And again, the entire family enjoyed this movie, so it's definitely one you could put on. It's got a lot of lessons. Like I was saying, it's not just about the romance that's budding. It's also about him getting everything because he's a nerd, and basically he hires a cheerleader to make him the popular kid, and then the power goes to his head and things kind of fall apart. So it's about getting everything you ever wanted and realizing that you really just wanted love all along, Ryan. So
that McDreamy, he wins you over every time, doesn't he?
Hey, this is a young McDreamy at his McDreamiest, so he sure does.
McDreamy on a lawnmower. I mean, it's
that triumphant ending shot. Yes, I love it.
Yep, at the sunset. Yep, it's fantastic.
You had me at lawnmower.
All right, what do you got there, Ryan?
All right, my number 4 came out in 2011. A trio here of actors and actresses: Anton Yelchin,
oh wow, yeah.
Felicity Jones, and Jennifer Lawrence. In 2011, made a movie called Like Crazy.
I don't think I ever saw it.
It's a smaller movie, and I don't think we've talked about it on Cinemajaw, but it tells the story of young love and how strong that feeling can be, and then can that feeling eventually, handle long distance and time between the two.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens here is Anton Yelchin and Felicity Jones are dating when they're basically ending of college, and she was over here in the United States from the UK, and her student visa expires, and she has to go back to the UK. And then there's problems with her visa, and she can't come back into the United States for a set amount of time. And now they're on two different continents.
Sure. Can it withstand the strain of a continent in between?
And then he eventually goes on and gets in with a new relationship with Samantha, played by Jennifer Lawrence. But that special feeling isn't there that he had.
He lost that love and feeling, right?
Right. And then eventually when you rekindle it, does time and distance sort of diminish that feeling? It's an interesting film. And in a lot of ways, it's a little sad and depressing, too.
Well, way to bring it down.
Well, it's a good movie, though. You should check it out. It's entitled Like Crazy. I recommend this one.
All right.
There we go.
Back over to you, Darren. Starting in at
your number 3.
Our number 3s, yeah.
Well, I always think about love. Young love is like love gone wrong. Like those stories always kind of resonate. When bad stuff happens for people who are in love, right? So I'm going with a film from this year. It's out of the box. It's me breaking the box on the way out of the box. Only because I love the film and I felt it needed a mention because it didn't get enough love this year at the awards. I'm going with Midsummer.
Oh, wow. Dude,
I
love this pick. I've been picking it for a lot of my favorite of the year lists, so I didn't even think about this one. This is a good one.
Yeah, it's all about love. It's what you do, people are gonna do for loving, Florence Pugh, and it's really kind of, it's a twisted take on young love, but I found my thread in there.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a breakup story. At its heart, it's really about the catharsis of finally getting over someone, and it's a hell of a psychedelic, murderous journey to get there. But smile she gives in the very last shot is clearly she's over him, And yeah, it's a twisted pick, and I like it.
It's a twisted pick, but that's why I picked it. I like picking twisted things. So.
That's good. Good. I'm really glad you got that on the list because I'm a big fan of that movie. Going in a slightly different direction with mine, and I just want to say before I reveal my pick, but to you, Ryan, that doing Cinemajaw, I've had the time of my life, and I never felt this way before, and I swear it's the truth, and frankly, I owe it all to you. Dirty Dancing.
Wow.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
That was impressive, Matt.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, sorry, I had to pull out the cheesy lines. This is another one. I like I said, you could tell the sort of mood I was in. I guess I got nostalgic when I was making this list, but growing up, I had an older sister, guys, so maybe that's it. And big shout out, we did a sister episode recently, and I forgot to mention my own sister. And since it's Valentine's Day, I can spread the love and say, hi, Jen, thanks for listening. And Dirty Dancing is a movie she turned me on to. She played the soundtrack all the time. And I caught up with it, and who didn't fall in love with Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze?
Oh, I thought you were about to say who didn't fall in love with your sister, and I thought, geez, Matt, what a way to twist the show.
Hey, she broke some hearts too, man, for sure. But Dirty Dancing, man, another one I just wore out on VHS.
Oh, man, it's great. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it sort of broke the mold for its time.
No doubt. I like it.
Teenage love.
All right, so my number 3 pick, I decided to concentrate on how young love, you can be obsessed with a person, right? Mm-hmm. And I know my first love, her name was Stacy. I don't think she ever knew my name. I was in the 6th grade, and I just couldn't get her out of my mind,
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I think it was captured perfectly in the 2009 comedy 500 Days of Summer. This was... Yeah, go ahead, Darren.
No, I love that pick.
Yes.
And I love that film.
Yeah. You got Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel, and Zoe plays the character Summer that Joseph Gordon falls in love with. And he's this guy who went to school to become an architect, but he finds himself in a greeting card company writing these cheesy sayings and cards when Summer starts working at the same company, and he just falls head over heels for her. And of course, they date, but he just can't get her out of her mind even when the breakup happens. You get a musical number in there. That's fantastic. It's a well-written film. The characters are likable. Everybody loves Zooey Deschanel, I think. So it's easy to fall in love with her. 500 Days of Summer. It's a winner. Anybody who sees it's going to like it.
Good pick, Ryan, for sure.
Really good pick. Really good pick.
That was my number 3. What do we got sitting at 2, Darren?
Oh, jeez. Well, young love, the young people, or is it young at heart, or is it both? How about Harold and Maude?
Well, yeah, I give it to you for sure. It's a little out of the box, but I mean, Harold was pretty young.
So was Midsummer. So what do we expect out of Darren? This is good. He's a wild card.
It really. I mean, if you kind of go down and. So for me, there were a lot of films that almost made this list for me, and I would have seemed like a real weird person if I was like, well, what about Lolita? What about Baby Doll? What about Get Out Your Handkerchiefs? Or things like that involved very young people with very much older people, and I think this is a film that is a lot purer in intent than a lot of those films. And those films are all great and favorites of mine as well. But the idea with Harold and Maude is that it doesn't matter what the age is. Love can be found for anyone, anywhere, anytime, and you can be 18 and driving a hearse, or you could be 80 and presumably should be in a hearse,
Yeah.
But. And love can, find its way into that. And that's really what, for me, it's one of, if not the best Ashby film, and it's just really something special. So
I like it. I like it a lot, man. This is the one pick on my list that's a bit unusual. I suppose doesn't fit the rest, but I think it fits my personality. We sort of alluded earlier to Shakespeare, and of course everybody's thinking Romeo and Juliet, of which might be on somebody else's list, maybe not. This is a modern day interpretation of Romeo and Juliet that is somewhat based in reality, filmed by Alex Cox, Sid and Nancy. And it's about it's about how love kills, right? It's about the destruction of a couple by their own hand, so to speak. And it's very much a parable for Romeo and Juliet in a way, sort of a twisted Romeo and Juliet. I think the reason he called it Sid and Nancy is to sort of evoke that feeling, that couple. And listen, I'm not saying Sid and Nancy is like Shakespeare, okay? I'm saying that they're drawing the comparison because of the way that the couple ends up and everything. Plus, I'm a punk, so got to put Sid and Nancy on the list.
I still have not seen it.
You never saw Sid and Nancy?
Still have not seen it.
Wow.
I mean, Gary Oldman is Sid Vicious.
I know.
Chloe Webb's best outside of Twins. So there you go.
Glad it's on your list.
You got to see Sid and Nancy sometime.
I'll write it down.
Yes.
I'll write it down. All right. My number 2 is a movie about young love, but it's one person who's a little bit younger and falls for the mature man. This one takes place over in England. Came out in 2009. Another strong cast now that time's passed. You have Carey Mulligan, Peter Sarsgaard, Alfred Molina, and Rosamund Pike.
Oh, wow.
And they're in the film In Education.
Still haven't seen this one either.
Love it.
Yeah, you like this one, Darren?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So you have Carey Mulligan here plays Jenny, and she's only a 16-year-old, and she's hoping to attend Oxford University when she meets David, who is played by Peter Sarsgaard. He's the older man. He drives a nice car. He's very mature, and she gets very swept up in this lifestyle. And it's very tricky because she's a student that, if she plays her cards right, can go and get an education and not be so reliant on being in a relationship and marrying a man. And we're still, this takes place at a time where that's very prevalent, and she has to sort of decide. And the teachers in that movie, throw that in the fish tank. There's another actress, Pat, in the movie that plays the teacher in an education that is so upset with Jenny's choice because she sees the whole future playing out, that she's just caught up in this, mature lifestyle that he lives. But really, if she could just step back and see that she's throwing away such a promising future. It's a wonderful film. Yeah,
got to catch up with this one.
In education, love that one.
Oh, it's worth catching up. I mean, it's a great film. I waited a year before I saw it when it came out, and I regretted waiting a year.
All right,
you've waited a lot longer.
I have. Based on that recommendation, though, I'll take you up on that.
That was my number 2. So here we are. This is Cinemajaw, our number 1 picks for movies about young love. Darren Dean, what do you got sitting there?
Yeah, with all the Shakespeare going around, I'm going to tease with one, but I'm going to go to another. With all the Shakespeare going around, I thought for sure that somebody was going to say West Side Story. Because it's such a great, again, Romeo and Juliet, which... Since I was sure somebody was going to say West Side Story, I started thinking about other films, and then I remembered what I think is the most romantic young person film in my eyes, and it's not. And I am thinking about young love as romance now, not completely twisted, but still slightly. I would say my favorite young love film is Let the Right One In.
Nice.
Wow.
This is an honorable mention for me. Nice one.
That is awesome, man. I love your picks, and I'm jealous of them, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm talking about the 2008, original Alfredson, version.
Yes.
Although, I mean, the more recent version that was done here in the States was shot for shot, so it's not like there was anything wrong with it. But for me, the original 2008 version was my favorite. And I will say this: I believe that is the very first film that Sean Baker and I saw together in a movie theater. It was at the LA Film Festival the year that we won with Prince of Broadway, and it was midnight screening, and it was my first film festival. So, in addition to fond memories of the film and of the depiction of love between these two young people in it, there were so many fond memories that tie me to that film because it was my first film festival and because it was, Prince of Broadway and we won, and, it started the pathway to, leading here. And by here, I mean on Cinemajaw.
You've made it.
I love it.
Yeah, there we go.
That is an awesome pick, man, and I agree. It's such a haunting portrayal of love too, because it's innocent, and also that his future, the love will always be somewhat unrequited, right? He's never going to.
Oh yeah.
But that seems to be kind of what he wants to. Yeah, that is definitely an amazing movie. I like it a lot. All right, swings it over to me. And, okay, this is the mood I was in, right? I was thinking nostalgia, and when you're going in that direction, you're talking about teenage romance, one name pops into your head, and that's John Hughes, at least for me. And he has many great ones to pick from.
Yep.
Many. Really, I could have said a bunch, but I'm going with Pretty in Pink.
Wow. Pretty in Pink, eh?
Pretty in Pink, and I'll tell you why here. Because it's the love triangle, and really Ducky is the tragic hero of the movie. John Cryer has to give up on his love in order to see her become happy with her douchebag rich boy that she really wants to get. Harry Dean Stanton as the dad puts in just a fantastic performance. Chicago's own Dick Biondi is in the very beginning on the radio, if you listen. All of Hughes' films were shot and set right here in Chicago. And I think that that's something we can all relate to, at least Ducky's predicament, when we have to sort of let love go. And it's such a young love because they were friends and sort of had crushes on each other since childhood. And it's that relationship, I think, is at the core of the movie. So there you go.
Good pick. For my number one, it's interesting. A lot of times when we're making these lists, since we do this week after week, what happens is I write down a series of films on a piece of paper as I'm thinking of them, and then later do some research and start numbering them. But this time, when I did this list, I wrote this film down and next to it put a number one.
Oh, you knew right away.
I wanted to talk about this as the number one.
Oh, did I steal your thunder with Dirty
No,
Dancing?
You did not.
Oh,
you did not. This one, and the other reason why was because I don't think we've talked about it much on Cinemajaw, and I thought, what a great time to highlight this film. 2003 film. I've been going with the casts all show, so get a load of this cast now, Matt. Miles Teller, Shailene Woodley, Brie Larson, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who we just saw in Birds of Prey.
Right.
Bob Odenkirk, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Kyle Chandler. Oh my goodness.
That's a deep roster.
And get this, it was an independent small movie at the time. 2013's The Spectacular Now.
I remember hearing about this. I've still never seen it.
Such a good movie about
Neither have I,
young love, and it is a high school romance. It develops between two people who seem to be headed in completely different directions with their lives. Miles Teller plays Sutter, and he's a young kid who's drinking all the time, doesn't take his life very seriously, nor does he take his future too serious, but we see cracks in that. That's maybe just his outer shell that he's putting out there. And then Shailene Woodley plays Amy, who is tutoring him, and she's got her whole future sort of planned out and looking forward to going to college. And you get this romance that takes place between them. But the sad part being that Miles Teller's character really realizes that...
What year was this year?
2013.
They must have been like 10 years old,
No,
right? I mean,
no,
Shailene Woodley
teenagers.
and Miles Teller?
Yeah. Give us their ages. Throw it in the fish tank, all right, Pat? But yeah, they're not that... They're 2013.
okay.
This is 7 years ago.
That's
So
a
they're
long
teenagers. I'm telling you, they're in high school.
They're in their
right?
20s today?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he sees that her future is so much brighter than his, that this romance can't continue for the rest of their lives, and that he's headed down a path that isn't necessarily going to be successful, and he doesn't see himself where maybe Amy sees herself
He's
going.
feeling the imposter syndrome. He's not worthy of her love.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And while researching this, I came across Roger Ebert, the great Roger Ebert, gave this one 4 stars. And in his review, he says, "What an affecting film this is. It respects its characters and doesn't use them for its own shabby purposes. How deeply we care about them. Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley are so there. Being young is a solemn business when you really care about someone. Teller has a touch of John Cusack in his Say Anything period.
Oh.
Woodley is beautiful in a real person sort of way, studying him with concern, and then that warm smile. We have gone through senior year with these two. We have known them. We have been them." That's the great Roger Ebert, and I agree.
He knew how to write.
Wow.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
My number one, The Spectacular Now. Any quick honorable mentions as we're running a little late here?
I can go rapid fire. Little Women, I think, could be on this list. Clueless. Gotta listen. Cop to this. Twilight.
All right.
Say Anything.
I went with Moonrise Kingdom. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, and you got to go Moonrise Kingdom in there. And then another small movie not mentioned here was Smashed, which was Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, where him, and also actually that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in that as well, and they're both like drinking heavily, and one wants to get off. What do you call it? Off the wagon or on the wagon?
On the wagon.
Wants to get on the wagon, and quit drinking.
You're watching too many Seinfelds.
And all of a sudden, the relationship can't last if one's not drinking and one is. Good movie though.
I had one more, man. You cut me off. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. I mean, we have to
It's a
say
great
it.
one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
I got I would say West Side Story for sure. Either version of Hairspray, including the John Waters version. Probably Dangerous Liaisons. Yeah, those are probably my picks for the honorable mentions.
Those were some good picks, eh, Matt?
Yeah, there's tons we missed here.
Jawheads, if we missed...
Oh, yeah, way too much.
Yeah, if we missed your favorite movie about young love, and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet, or you can always email us, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Still to come, a CinemaWAR looking at the best comic book movie of the year 2000, plus trivia, Matt K versus Darren. Stick with us.
Let's all go to the lobby.
As we celebrate Anne Hathaway this February, we must take a look at her big love scene. I am talking about Interstellar, of course. Here, Anne Hathaway tells Matthew McConaughey of her theory about love passing through time and dimensions. Happy Valentine's Day, Jawheads.
So listen to me when I say that love isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful. It has to mean something.
Love has meaning, yes. Social utility, social bonding, child rearing.
We love people who have died. Where's the social utility in that?
None.
Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand. Maybe it's some evidence, some artifact of a higher dimension that we can't consciously perceive. I'm drawn across the universe to someone I haven't seen in a decade, who I know is probably dead. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space. Maybe we should trust that, even if we can't understand it yet.
Hey, Jawheads, it's Matt K with a brand new riddle for you, and our February riddle goes like this. I am almost as ancient as the relics I used to dig. I have loved a princess, a bartender, one who works, and one who may not have been real. I was a swinger long before Austin Powers, but I settled down with somebody who had dancing babies. You'll never catch me. Who am I? Jawheads, you have until March 17th to email us the correct answer at feedback@cinemajaw.com for a chance to win a prize pack, or you could take me on in trivia.
The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy.
And we are back on CinemaJaw, hanging out with Darren Dean. A lot of projects going on. But again, Premature. It's a movie coming out this February. Write it down, Jawheads. Nominated for a Spirit Award. And always great talking to Darren.
Indeed it is.
Indeed it is, Matt K. Before we get to trivia and before we get to CinemaWAR, we did throw a few items into the fish tank. And I know Pat wants to swim up to the top and tell us.
Take a breath of air.
Happy Valentine's Day. Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
Fishy! Wake up! Wake up!
No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish smoke.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys and all the Jawheads. The first question in the fish tank this week was, who is the teacher in An Education? And that was Emma Thompson, who plays Miss Walters.
I knew it was somebody, yes.
Definitely was somebody.
Yeah. I just knew it was, yeah. I knew it was a teacher.
A notable.
A notable.
Yeah.
That played the teacher, no doubt.
And then the second question was how old Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley are. Miles Teller is 32 and Shailene Woodley is 28.
Whoa.
There you go. So like I had said, it was 7 years ago, so you put it there. Yeah, they're playing believable high school kids.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. We always get actors who are in their like 20s and 30s playing high schoolers, but okay. All right. They definitely have a young look, so...
Yeah. I mean, who are you kidding? Your pick, John Travolta, was, what was he? When in Greece, he was probably 35.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe. But like I said, man, they posted that that photo very recently, and they look Great, for whatever that's worth.
Was that everything, Pat?
Yep.
All right. Jump back in that fish tank.
All right, will do.
Matt, it brings us to a segment called
CinemaWAR 2000.
And CinemaWAR works like this. Me and Matt were fighting on a topic. Our guest, our judge, our jury this week is Darren Dean. He gets to pick who he thinks won this argument. Matt.
Yeah.
The CinemaWAR topic machine is stuck on the year 2000, and it outputted this one. What is the best comic book movie of the year 2000? Mm-hmm. Be it X-Men or Unbreakable. You're fighting for X-Men.
That's right.
I have Unbreakable. Let's get this war started.
It occurs to me, Ryan, that we have the perfect judge for this. Darren Dean, someone who has great respect for Will Eisner. Ryan, you don't even know who Will Eisner is, so how could you judge what is a better comic book movie? Anyway, I disqualify you. Unbreakable is a movie about comic books, not a comic book movie.
I know who Will I Am is. Matt, X-Men? Really? X-Men? What is it that made that film work so well? Was it Halle Berry's uncanny transformation as Storm? Or was it Rebecca Romijn's method acting as she brought Mystique alive? Which was it, Matt Kay?
I'd say both. Before Avengers, before even the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, in the year 2000, we got the X-Men. It received positive reviews from critics, citing performances, story, and thematic depth, Ryan. This was the movie that validated us geeks who previously were punched in the face for saying things like X-Men aloud. Unbreakable, on the other hand, was dreary, dull, and rode the coattails of its director's previous film.
To this day, many people will cite Unbreakable as M. Night Shyamalan's best. And not just fans. The great Quentin Tarantino said it is in the top 20 films to come out that decade, and Time magazine listed it 4th in the best superhero movies of all time.
Wow. Let's be frank, Ryan. M. Night Shyamalan has one good movie with Bruce Willis in it, and hint, hint, he was dead the whole time. Since then, a string of disappointments have largely squandered the potential of that great film. However, since then, the X-Men gave us not only Hugh Jackman, who made his debut in the film, but also led to the reemergence of superhero films, a genre that would remain popular for the next 2 decades.
All right, get a load of this, Matt. Mr. Glass, David Dunn, these are names of characters we know now. But this was not a story based on pre-existing material like X-Men. This was new. This was fresh. And that idea has now spawned 2 more movies, Split and Glass. That is impressive.
Yeah, not impressive. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up because Unbreakable even screwed up the one thing comic book movies are known for, sequels. While I did enjoy the spin-off in Split, I think we can both agree that Glass was a disappointment, Ryan. The X-Men franchise, while there have been some missteps, has given us great movies like First Class, Deadpool, and Logan. Your argument sure ain't Unbreakable, Ryan, and mine is adamantium. Excelsior.
The most impressive thing about Unbreakable is that it's a clever story, an original one at that, satisfies comic book fans, and contains M. Night's signature, a twist ending. As the years have passed, these 2 films are headed in opposite direction. X-Men's stock is sinking, while Unbreakable is now looked at as a classic everyone should see. Whew. We are button heads here on CinemaWAR. We throw it to our guest, our jury. Darren, what did you think of this CinemaWAR?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because of a lot of the points you bring up. I mean, I would... I don't know. I think franchise-wise, both of them sort of floundered a bit after the initial efforts. So with that argument and just going back to both of them, you had to bring up Will Eisner, Matt.
Yes, I did.
I think Will would have liked Unbreakable more.
Ooh, damn it!
It's an origin story, and it's an origin story at its best, I think, and and I agree, it is Shalaman's best film.
Nice.
I don't know if it's his best film, but I really like Unbreakable too. I really do.
So kudos, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you. That earns me 20 seconds of jaw time, rant and rave on whatever I want. And because Darren's going to the Spirit Awards, it's a good time to... And here we got this micro budget, I guess is what you can call it. It's not micro at $500,000, but you know what I mean. Independent film, support it, Jawheads. There's great ways now with all the streaming platforms and being able to rent movies and see things that are a little bit different.
Outside the box.
Outside the box. Get out there and support independent film.
Well said,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that is my 20-second rant.
See, I tried to pander to the
I
judge
appreciate
and
using your 20
backfired.
seconds on me. I love it.
All right. Well, it is finally, Matt, a time to play some trivia.
All right. All right, Jawheads, it's time once again for Cinema Trivia, where one lucky contestant gets to take on Matt K in the hot seat. Starring your host, Rye the Movie Guy!
Oh, that theme song, it really gets me in the mood. I'm pumped up, man. I'm pumped up.
I'm ready.
All right, in honor of Birds of Prey, we are playing spin-off movie trivia. Darren, it works like this. You're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first. Let Matt K go first. There are steals, and if you get hung up on any questions, you get one pick-me-up Pat. Our producer, Pat, has clues to all the questions. And Darren,
Right.
they start off easy.
All right. I'll go first.
All right. Question 1, spin-off movie trivia. Here we go. Darren, just last year, 2019, Hobbs and Shaw got a spin-off movie. From what franchise is that from?
Fast and Furious.
1-0. Darren.
He's on the board.
Question 2 over to Matt K. Matt, Puss in Boots.
What?
Puss in Boots was a spin-off from the popular Shrek franchise. Who voiced Puss in Boots?
Oh, wow. That is not what I thought you were going to ask. So that would be Antonio Banderas.
1-1. Everybody perfect on the easy ones. Question 3, back over to Darren. Darren, speaking of animation, the Minions got a spin-off from Despicable Me. Who voiced the lovable villain Gru in Despicable Me?
Steve Carell.
2-1, Darren.
Okay.
Question 4 over to Matt K. In 2018, we were treated to Bumblebee, a spin-off from the Transformers.
Yeah, okay.
What actress starred in the film as Carly Watson?
Holy crap. Dude, I have no idea. I know it probably wasn't Megan Fox. What question number is this?
This is question 4. Who starred in Bumblebee? Did you see the movie?
No.
Oh, I saw it.
You did?
Yeah.
I
see
probably would have enjoyed it. I like Bumblebee and all. I don't know. I don't
Question
know
4.
Yeah, should I use my lifeline here is the question. I'll just say Haley Steinfeld. Really?
That is unbelievable.
Are you kidding me? I just picked a name out of thin air.
It was Haley Steinfeld. Yeah.
Whoa.
She did a good job in it, too.
That's really weird, dude.
I had no idea. I had no idea who the answer to that question was. But the name that I picked out of thin air was Haley Steinfeld.
That's bizarre.
Wow. That is nuts. All right. It is 2-2. Question 5 is over to Darren. The 2010 film Get Him to the Greek, starring Russell Brand and Jonah Hill, was a spin-off of this Jason Segel film. Name it.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Indeed.
Wow.
Wow.
Sorry, Haley Steinfeld.
Dude, I don't know where that came from. I'm still reeling from that. I swear to God, I pulled that out of thin air.
That is nuts. It is 3-2. Darren, question 6. Back over to Matt K. Matt, speaking of Marshals, the 1998 film U.S. Marshals sees Tommy Lee Jones play Sam Gerard again. But what actor is he chasing this time around?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I mean, obviously it was the Fugitive spinoff. He's not chasing Harrison Ford this time. Was
Tommy Lee Jones
Tommy Lee
and
Jones.
who in U.S. Marshals?
All right, this is where I'm going to have to say pick me up, Pat.
Whoa, pick me up, Pat. Question 6. Who starred alongside Tommy Lee Jones in U.S. Marshals?
Your clue for this one, in real life, he was caught and put in jail.
Oh, wait. Okay. Is it the Demolition Man? I'm blanking on his name. Wesley Snipes? Wow. Thanks, Pat. Thank you.
Look at this. 3-3. Everybody perfect. Darren still has his lifeline, too. Darren, question 7 is to you. What actor stars in the Fantastic Beasts series as Newt Scamander, which is a spin-off of the Harry Potter series?
Good Lord. Yeah.
You do have a pick-me-up, Pat, if you need it. Who stars in Fantastic Beasts?
Go ahead. Pick me up, Pat.
Wow. Back-to-back pick-me-up Pats. Pat, who is it? Who stars in Fantastic Beasts?
Your clue for this one is that they are the Oscar winner for Theory of Everything.
Won an Oscar for Theory of Everything. Does Darren got this name?
I keep wanting to say Freddie Highmore, but that's not. Funny story.
Yeah.
When he was in The Dutch Girl, I met him at the Vanity Fair party and talked to him about Tangerine quite extensively. But he was in Les Mis too, I think.
He's on it. He's all over it. He's got the right guy.
Eddie Redmayne.
Yes. Wow.
Sweet Lord Almighty.
Wow, that is awesome. Darren is perfect. He's got 4. Matt, you have 3. It's the last question of the game.
Okay. No pressure.
2005 film Beauty Shop was a spin-off of the popular movie Barbershop. What actress played the lead, Gina?
Okay, there's a few actresses who I think are likely here. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say Queen Latifah.
Wow, unbelievable! Wow, unbelievable. It comes down to a jawbreaker, and this jawbreaker goes to Darren. Darren, which film of these two should have a spin-off? The Florida Project or Tangerine?
Oh, Tangerine.
They
I'd
really
see
both
either
should.
one of them.
Yeah.
I love the Florida Project so much.
Yeah, I think there could be multiple spin-offs.
I would love to see. I would love to see a spin-off of either one of them. But the adventures of those kids and the adventures of those girls would be absolutely amazing. So.
It would be. Of course, that was a joke. The real jawbreaker is this. As we're tied 4-4, the real jawbreaker is this. Age of Wesley Snipes closest to. Matt, you got to guess.
Okay. I mentioned Demolition Man. I'm pretty sure that came out in the early to mid 90s, and he would have been in his late 20s. So it's been, okay, so he's in his early 50s. I'll say 53 years old.
Lock him in at 53. Darren, do you got to guess?
I'm going to say 59.
Give that one to Darren. 57.
57.
57. Darren wins this one.
Went too low. Wow, that's a rare misstep for me.
Yeah.
I'm usually the carnival barker getting all the ages right. Well done, Darren. Virtual handshake to you.
Thank you.
And with that, it brings us the end of a great job. First and foremost, we got to thank our guest calling in via Skype. Darren, best of luck at the Spirit Awards.
Thank you guys so much. Great to be back, and talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch for sure, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
And we also got to thank our producer Pat.
Yeah, thanks as always, guys. It was a good time.
You're welcome, Pat, and happy Valentine's Day to you.
Wow.
Thanks,
Swinging all the way around the room with
I,
that.
I made you something here. I took some white and red construction paper.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And some scissors.
Matt,
I
your
folded
hands
it,
are
and if you
empty.
unfold it just like this, it makes a heart shape.
No.
See? And I wrote P and M on it. Those are our initials, Pat.
Wow, creepy.
I'm going to cut your mic.
Don't do it before we thank our sponsors.
Oh, yes. We got to thank our sponsors. Thanks to Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op, who help us get great sponsors like them.
Yes, if you want to support Cinemajaw, leave us a review, guys, wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And while you're there, click subscribe. It would be an awesome Valentine's Day gift for us because it helps us out tremendously.
Until next week, I'm Ryan, the movie guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies.